Hello, I am Shannon Ballman Theis, the Payroll Queen, and today we are going to be discussing the Wisconsin W-4 equivalent, which is also called the WT-4. Okay, so line 2 instructions is the additional withholding. If you have claimed 0 exemptions on line 1, but still expect to have a balance due on your tax return for the year, you may wish to request your employer to withhold an additional amount of tax for each pay period. If your employer agrees to this additional withholding, enter the additional amount you want deducted from each of your paychecks on line 2. I've worked with a lot of employers in Wisconsin, and in general, if you have, like, say you get paid twice a month and you need an additional $600 withheld, you would enter you would enter 50 for the additional amount per pay period, because 50 times 24 equals 600. And if you, I've, I have never seen where the employer will not withhold the extra amount, because it gets paid in the exact same way that your regular withholdings get paid in. Line 3 is the exemption from withholding, which a lot of people get. This is probably the most confusing piece on any state W-4 equivalent, or even the federal W-4. So this is the exemption from withholding. You may claim exemption from withholding of Wisconsin income tax if you have no liability for income tax last year and you expect to incur no liability for income tax for this year. You may not claim exempt if your return shows tax liability before the allowance of any credit for income tax withheld. If you are exempt, your employer will not withhold Wisconsin income taxes from your wages. So I want to clarify this. Some people don't owe money at the end of the year for their tax return, but they still have a liability, and either have, if they're married filing joint, their spouse could have the correct amount withheld, but that does not mean that the other spouse is exempt. Usually the only people that are exempt from withholding have no tax liability, such as perhaps a single parent that doesn't make a lot and has multiple exemptions. And the other is going to be children, minor children who don't make very much or don't work very much. But you must revoke this exemption within 10 days from the time you expect to incur income tax liability for the year, or on or before December 1st if you expect to incur Wisconsin income tax liability for the next year. If you want to stop or are required to revoke this exemption, you must complete and provide a new Form WT-4 to your employer showing the number of withholding exemptions you are entitled to claim. This certificate of exemption from withholding will expire on April 30th of next year unless a new WT-4 is completed and provided to your employer before that date. So this is different than a lot of other states that have the exemption from withholding expiration. Most follow the federal February 15th expiration, but Wisconsin extends it to April 30th of the following year. So this is really important for people who are processing W-4s and reviewing W-4s. If you have an employee who is claimed exempt, you have to set yourself a reminder to get a new WT-4 from the employee on or before April 30th, because that's when this one is going to expire. And if you don't, then by default, you are required to withhold. In most cases, I don't see it specifically laid out on the Wisconsin one, but in most cases, then you would be required to withhold at the single rate until you get a new WT-4 from that employee.